2025-2026 FAFSA. I will be walking through the FAFSA by using this prototype. I'll be launching as a demo student, but this is what you will see when you go to log into FAFSA. You will need to log in with your FSA ID. The FSA ID is required for student and parent or guardian. We're going to hit login. You will be prompted to either send a code to your phone number or your email. Once you're in, you'll click Start a New Form. I'm going to go in as a student. I'm going to hit Continue. You will see 4 different videos about understanding the FAFSA. You can watch them if you would like. After that, you'll hit Start My FAFSA. It will bring up all the information that you would have put into your FSA ID. So your name, your date of birth, social security number, and then all the defining information about mailing address and phone number will be listed. You'll hit Continue. You'll put in your state of residence. So I will put in Illinois. For when the student became a legal resident, if you were born in Illinois, you're going to put the month and the year that you were born. If you came to Illinois later on, you'll put the month and year as well. This is consent to connect the federal student aid portal to the IRS. The IRS is where the federal tax information is stored, and this tax information will then be pulled from the IRS. This is the easiest way to make sure that all of your data is connected to your FAFSA. So you will have to go through consent to the approval to retrieve this information. This will be connecting through either the social security number or the ITIN if your parent is undocumented and uses an ITIN to file taxes. And then with that number, they will connect the federal student aid portal, the FAFSA, to the taxes. And that means we don't have to manually enter it like in past years. This is where they are securing that information. We'll hit Continue. For personal circumstances, this is all about who you are. So we're going to say you're single, never married, because remember, we're on the student, and it's always going to say up at the top if we're on the student or parent portal. And then we'll hit Continue. For next year, you will be a freshman in college, and when you start the year, you will not have earned your first bachelor's degree. We will then hit Continue. These are the circumstances that are the determination between being an independent and a dependent student for FAFSA. There are multiple questions, and you will have to go through and see if any of these apply to you. Normally, none of these will apply because as a senior in high school, if you are living with parents, you likely have your parents' support to continue with the FAFSA by putting in their information. But if you were in any of these other circumstances, you do not have to include parent information because maybe you're in a situation where your parents are not involved. So you're going to click None of these apply. Continue. This question is related to homelessness. So if there's been any time on or after July 1st, 2024 that you were either homeless or self-supporting and at risk of being homeless, you will say yes. This also makes you an independent student. But if you do say yes to this question, you have to provide a form from our district homeless liaison to verify that this is true. So that letter then gets sent to the college. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to click No. If there are any unusual circumstances that prevent the student from contacting their parent, they would select yes. For the purposes of this one, I am also going to say no for this because for the most part, students will not have to say yes. So I'm going to say no. Dependency. This is saying I am a dependent student based off all those questions I just answered. If I had said yes to any of those questions, this would be a different screen. It would say you are a dependent student and you do not need to provide information for parents. So there is a question though that if you're a dependent student and your students or your parents are refusing to provide their information, you can say yes here. But as a result, the prototype cannot do that, but as a result, you would not be eligible for the grant money in the form of Pell and MAP grants, which are the free money, you would only be able to get the unsubsidized student loans. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to say no. And now we are going to go through the student's parent situation. So if your parents are married together, we're going to say yes, and you have to provide both parent information. This is regardless of if they file married joint or married separately. If your parents are not married to each other, you'll say no. If they live together, which I know is something that does happen a lot, you will have to still provide both parent information because you live with both parents. If they are not married to each other, they do not live together, the question pops up of, did one of these parents provide more financial support than the other in the last 12 months? If one of them provided more, we're going to say yes. And the question comes up of that, for that parent that provided more financial support in the last 12 months, did they remarry? If they did not, you'll say no, and you'll only provide information for that one parent. If they were remarried, so let's say dad provides more financial support, dad remarried, I'm doing dad and stepmom. But if both parents are married to each other, we will say yes, and we will continue. This is where we have to invite parents to the FAFSA. It is very important that when you get to this step, both parents, if you have to put both in, already have an FSA ID, because once we put in this information, it sends an invite to that parent. So keep that in mind. This is really important because once you pass this, you can't come back. You might have to delete your FAFSA and start over. So at this point, you're going to put in parent 1, and then if needed, you'll put in parent 2. The reason I say if needed is if parent 1 remarried, we're going to put in both. If parent 1 and parent 2 are married and filed together, you only need to put one parent. If parent 1 is the only parent in the household, then you'll only have to put one parent in. But you are going to have to provide social security number and date of birth for both parents, whether that's parent, step-parent, guardian. If the parent does not have a social security number, you can click this. And then once they are prompted on their portal, they can provide their ITIN, which will then link to the IRS, and they can then pull that information. It is very important, though, that you send that invite and make sure that the email address and all the defining information does match their FSA ID perfectly, or it will not connect. And as a result, they will not be able to provide their portal's worth of information. Now we will go into the student demographics. This will pop up after you put in the parent information. You're going to go ahead and put in your gender, your race and ethnicity, your student citizenship. If you're an eligible non-citizen, you will have to put in your green card number. So it will be on the front side of the card, and it will have the 2 dashes. It will look very similar to a social security number. We're going to then click U.S. citizen. You'll put in parents' educational status, if they were killed in the line of duty on 9/11. Your high school completion status as of the beginning of the 25-26 school year, which will be a high school diploma. What school you graduated from. I'm just going to pick a random school. That will obviously be Round Lake High School, though. Then we will be brought into the finance piece. In here, we're going to put in any federal benefits received. So just keep in mind that Round Lake is a free and reduced school lunch program. So feel free to click that one. And then if there's anything else, I will click none of these apply. your family size. If on the taxes your family size is correct, then you're going to say no. But let's say someone was born or there's someone else that was not listed in family size, you're going to click yes, and then you're going to put in who else was in the household. The reason this is important is it factors into the equation they use to figure out how much money you should be able to receive from the government based off the financials. This will be one if it's just you going to college next school year. If you have other siblings that are in college, then obviously that will be different. This piece right here will not be listed under the student's tax return information unless you have one of these plans. So typically these are going to be 0 across the board. If you do have any money from any of these situations, you will put in the amount, but typically you'll find these in the parent side. Child support, student assets, so you're going to put in how much money you have in the bank. So this is total of cash, savings, and checking accounts. Your net worth of investments in real estate and investment farms, those are probably going to be 0. You're going to click continue. This is where you're going to select the colleges and career schools. So this is up to 20 schools that you have applied to that you would like to send your FAFSA to. I selected one random school. I put in Barnard College, which is in California, and this popped up regarding an Illinois resident. So to be eligible for the MAP grant, which is the Illinois State Grant, you would have to be going to an eligible in-state college. So let's say you are an Illinois student and you are wanting to go to a school in Illinois and you are eligible for aid, then you could receive a little over $8,000 worth of grant money to go to that school in Illinois. But let's say I'm an Illinois student and I don't want to go to school in Illinois. I'd like to go to a school in a different state. Then I will not receive the MAP grant, but I would still receive the Pell. So the Pell grant is just under $8,000, and if a student was going to go outside of Illinois, they would receive that if they are eligible for aid. So I'm going to click continue because I'm only going to add one school at the time. The goal, though, is that you add all the schools that you plan on applying to at one point, so you don't have to log back into the FAFSA and add those schools. This is the end of the form. You basically go to continue and sign. So all of the portions are finished. I'm going to hit continue. And then this is the sign and submit page. So this is where we go in and we say, I agree to the terms outlined above, and I hit sign and submit. This means that the FAFSA is completed on my side. So the student side is not going to say your estimated student aid index yet because the parent side still needs to be completed. Since I'm on a prototype, it's telling me that my student aid index is 5,000, which means that the government potentially believes that my family, based off of the taxes, how much money I have in the bank, all of those factors put in that equation, and this is how we receive that money, or that number, I'm sorry. So they think that my parents can probably give me $5,000 to be able to go to school, roughly. But then once it's fully processed, it's going to tell us how much of the federal Pell Grant we are eligible for. So of that just under $8,000, based off my SAI of $5,000, I might be eligible for $6,000. From here, I won't know for sure how much it's going to cost to go to college until my colleges send me a financial aid award letter. And that will come typically in February, March time. So just keep that in mind from the aspect of the parent. This is what the email will look like when the student asks for the parent to serve as a contributor. It will say that the student is not eligible for aid without the input. So the parent will then log in. This will be their FSA ID. We're going to log in with that. And then they're going to see under My Activity that the student needs help with the FAFSA. We're going to hit Accept Invitation. We're going to share this information, and this is how it's going to connect the student to the parent. As you can see at the top, that parent aspect is now showing instead of student. And This is going to be just information for the parents to look at about frequently asked questions. The same 4 videos that the student will see. We're going to hit continue through all 4 of them. 3 and 4. We're going to hit start FAFSA form. So again, parent side, this is going to be the parent's information, the social security number, date of birth, mailing address. We're going to hit continue. This will be the same question regarding transferring the federal tax information from the IRS into the FAFSA. So what we're going to do is we are going to scroll down. We're going to hit approve, just like we did before. This is where it's importing that information, and then it will be successfully attached. We'll hit continue. We're going to go through parent demographics. This is if the parent is married, remarried. They're going to basically ask for where they currently are in the relationship with either the biological parent or adopted. This is where we're going to have to invite the spouse. So since we said that this person was married, we have to then put in that second spouse's information, and we're going to go ahead and send that invite to the second parent if needed. We will put in the state of legal residence. This will be the month and the year that they became a resident. We'll just say 10/20/20, and then we'll hit continue. This will go into the parent's financial aspects. All of the information was already transferred from the IRS, so this is going to make this really easy. You're going to put in any of the different family received benefits, and then you're going to click through, like you can click multiple, but I'm going to say none of these apply and continue. If very similar to the student side, so if the family size has changed from what they put into their 2023 taxes, you're going to say yes and then put in who is in the family. So if you had another sibling born, you can add another person, or if there's someone else that is not listed in 2023, we're going to do that. I'm going to say no for now, that everything that was on the 2023 taxes is correct. How many people in the family will be in college? If it's just you, it's going to be 1. And then these questions would be ones for your parents. So if they have received any of money from their pensions or their IRA, if they have any earned income credit, this is going to be, I believe, on line 27, but there will be a little I for information, and you can say either yes, no, or don't know. I will say no. If they have received any of these amounts in terms of college grant scholarships or foreign earned income, and then we'll hit continue. If your parent has received any child support, you'll put that there. How much money they have in the bank account, their net worth of investments, including real estate, but this does not include the home that your parent lives in. So this would only be if your parent owns 2 homes. The second home would be the net worth of investments, and then the second one is in the real estate for investment farms. And then that's it. So it's honestly very simple and compared to previous years. You'll review the answers, then you'll hit continue. And then this is the sign and submit form. So you're saying I agree, and we're signing and submitting. That is the whole aspect of the parent side, but just keep in mind that if you do have 2 parents that you need to complete, you'll then have to log in to that second parent to be able to complete that side. Once you have all the parts completed, then you'll receive that student aid index, and that's what lets the schools know how much aid the student is eligible to receive from the federal government. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop into my office in the College and Career Center, A307A, and I look forward to helping you complete your FAFSA.